So Lorcana is almost in its full release. The 18th was the LGS release, and then of course September 1st we're going to have it in the Disney parks and a bunch of other places. But before then, we were playing online. Thanks to something called Pixelborn, we now have some data from over 11,000 players and a bunch of stuff from it. I'm going to go ahead and take you through some of the stuff that I've seen and some of the important bits as well. 11,000 players is a lot when you really think about it. But where is this data coming from? It's coming from, again, Pixelborn, which is basically a trading card game simulator thanks to a person named Pavel. This is actually from Season 0, which is basically the ranked system from all of the games. Of course, you can pause here if you want to look at it. And of course, the top players, anyone with over 5,000 total points. A couple things about this, of course, again, 11,000 people is quite a lot. It is pretty obvious that only this small amount, this is really a small amount of people who even know about Pixelborn is interesting. You know, this is a small number. Imagine the hundreds of thousands, maybe, or tens of thousands of other people who actually pick up the game or playing right now or bought product over the course of the season. So, of course, 11,000 people from the start of the season, which I think was maybe a few months ago. I think sometime July, June is when Pixelborn was actually out and about and available. And it's interesting because that's only what, 2 to 3 months, if anything. I'm sure I'm getting that incorrect, but it's still a lot with over 113,000 games played in total. Some turn data here with an average amount of 10 turns per game. That's probably around that 15-minute mark, which is not surprising. That's pretty much what I would expect when it comes down to a regular old Lorcana game. So let's talk through some combinations. So starting with the Ruby combinations, the red aggro sort of removal, lore removal type of stuff going on, and I think this is one of the most popular colors outside of Amethyst. And the purple red, I'm just going to say that going forward outside of the titles, the purple red variant is pretty popular. Out of the 34,000 games played in that season, of those people who are playing it, so again, a unique player playing the game, well, not so much unique player, but a player playing the game, and then this is the total amount of the games with that combination of colors for every single thing that we're going to go through right now. Out of 34,000, the win rate is over 500, which is great. That's actually really good. Like on average for 34,000 games and that many players is actually not bad. And same thing with blue red, which both of those obviously, red purple is a little bit more popular in the way of games, obviously, but it has the same amount of win rate. So on average, most likely, if you have the same amount of games, I would imagine red blue is going to be the same thing too. Both of these are very interesting, but also not surprising. I would actually change it to not surprising, because purple red is popular because it is very strong. It has answers for everything. It has a great late game, and it's just overall good. It's just one of those decks that other TCG game players or TCG players would be playing as soon as they saw the list, or how like after they figure out how it functions. Red Sapphire is also good, or Ruby Sapphire is really good. Not only the Pokemon reference, but the fact that you can ramp into something really good, like all the things that you want in red Ruby, you get faster with Sapphire. So it just kind of makes sense that people will kind of gravitate to that. You lose out on the purple / amethyst draw and consistency, but it is whatever. Now the last three, the red emerald, which I am not, a ruby emerald, I'm not really surprised that this is less popular. A 48 win rate, a 44 with red amber or red orange, and then ruby steel, red gray, I guess is a good name for it, with the least amount of wins and second least amount of games. Not very surprised, or not too surprising that these last two are not that popular. Red Emerald just offers a lot of that early good game stuff, and very annoying. Like you pair up Ruby's removal with Emerald's utility and the lower cost good cards, it kind of makes sense. I would also imagine that, like, in the red or ruby mirror with everything else. Emerald has those ward cards and just overall pretty good and utility. That's what I would go to. All right, moving on to the Sapphire combinations, where the Steel variant, Amber variant, Emerald variant, and Amethyst variant is kind of like how it goes down, but as far as popularity goes. But if you take a look at the win rates for each one of them, I'm actually kind of surprised that the win rate is so low for Sapphire Steel, right? It has the most games because it is the most popular. I think people probably put a little bit of ramp, a little bit of let it go, a little bit of you know, that spot removal that you have in blue, the spot removal, comparative to the removal in steel, where you can have that spot removal but also getting rid of those gold wide boards. So the things that are in amber and these other colors that play these lower costs, it just makes sense that, you know, you can kind of pair those two and it'd be a little bit more popular. But the win rate, pretty low, honestly, really quite low. Now these other three, with Emerald being the highest, I actually haven't seen too many builds with blue green or Emerald Sapphire, right? I actually personally have not seen them. And it sort of makes sense having that blue amber. Well, it sort of makes sense to have the blue purple, or sort of makes sense to have that blue purple, just because you end up using your hand quite a lot in Sapphire, right? And Amethyst has those cards where you can play Mickey and then you can use friends from the other side to sing with it, and you just kind of keep a higher hand size because of that. The other two, well, one has a very low win rate, less than 42% is actually super low. So you're probably not going to have too much success with that type of color. But also could be the pilots. You know, obviously all of these could be the pilots, which is why it's important to take a look at the top players and as well as the top ranking players, which we'll look at the end. These Emerald combinations. Now, it should be kind of obvious why Emerald Amber is popular, not only in games, but also not surprising that it has a higher win rate. Same thing for Emerald Amethyst, where both of these guys have two things. Well, one, with Amber, you have Lilo, which is the 1-drop. You play for 1 and it has 2 lore, and you can't really find that anywhere else outside of Amethyst, which is why Emerald and well, these two combinations, let's say the top 2 combinations, have that success. You can put these guys out pretty quickly, along with Emeralds like Flynn and the other 2 costs that have 2 lore. You have a higher cost to have 3 lore, and you just have all of these cards that not only draw you some, remove things, but also again gives you that utility in Emerald. But again, these top 2, not surprising. Also very happy to see it. Again, Emerald's my favorite color regarding inks. And again, with Lilo, not very surprising that it has a high win rate to gain that lore really quickly, and as well as the high game count. Emerald Steel, still there, you know, still chilling, almost as many games as Emerald Amethyst, and not just as that high, not as high of a win rate. And I think with Emerald, you want to pair it with something that's a little quick. Emerald or Amber and Amethyst have those quicker cards that you can use and utilize. Steel doesn't really do that. It's kind of a slower color. It is a thing that you have to build out. You have to end up using certain cards that are responsive to your enemy or whoever you're playing against, your opponent. And I think Amber and Amethyst don't really care about that. They just want to put some stuff on the board, draw some cards, and win the game as quick as possible. Now the last few combinations, they have almost that 50. Well, the last few combinations are ones that just haven't been listed as far as the combos go. Now the Amber Amethyst, 21,000 games, pretty popular, only a 41% win rate, and it's actually interesting. Amber Amethyst, you know, I feel like that's like almost as good as color combination as Emerald Amethyst, but I think what it is that when you go against red or ruby, I think it is probably the thing of not being able to answer some of their bigger threats, not maybe able to get back some of the things that you want to do or are recovering from. Be prepared maybe against steal if you run into some of their spot removal and as well as board removal. You know, sometimes that would be kind of an issue as well. I'm actually not entirely sure. Let me know in the comments below what you think as far as that color combination goes. Amber Steel, not at, well, actually, you know what, I think that would be sort of popular. You know, you can combine some of the bodyguard stuff with Amber's healing and some of the stuff like that, so not too bad as far as that goes with a 50% win rate. And Amethyst Steel, I personally haven't seen that too often. I think people who play Steel really lean towards Sapphire, which again, we can see the stats for that, and as well as kind of see that in the numbers, but this is the second most as far as the games go, but that, of course, this is just within these 11,000 people. And lastly, I stole this. Okay, I stole this from the Discord. I'll put the person's username here. I did send them a message, so I mean, if this gets cut out, my bad. But they did put this together. You know, they put it together for the top players, anybody with over 50,000 or 5,000 points. So it's interesting that if we look at the Emerald and as well as the Ruby ink, basically what this says is the win percentage for that given ink, and the star is the overall win percentage, I believe. What's also interesting is that the best pair ink and as well as the most played with. So if we look at Amber, the most played with, of course, is Emerald. Most played with for Amethyst is Ruby, etc., etc. Now, the best pair, of course, in win rate might be a little bit different from what the most popular, the most played with is. So take this as far as you can kind of understand it. And what again is important is that these are the top players, or the people who are over 5,000 points. That's pretty much it. I usually don't do these type of videos, so if I was bad at it, my bad, but I thought the data was super interesting and super cool to see. And overall, you know, we don't really get this from any other card game, at least from what I've seen. I don't really play Magic or Pokemon and stuff like that, so it could be wrong. But you know, from the Bandai card games, from like Flesh and Blood, Keyforge, stuff like that, you know, I don't really see this specific type of data. And it's nice to see, you know, in the first like few months of a brand new, super popular card game, to be honest, of Lorcana, it's good to know where, you know, these colors are going. And you know, in the second season or a couple months from now, 2-3 months from now, the data could be different. So if you want to see this again, let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you are new. Let me know what you think about all the data. I'll see you in the next one.